Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to you all. This is Navneet Singh from SISL Infotech. We are an advanced business partner of Red Hat, and I welcome you all to a very interactive webinar on Red Hat, scale out, speed up, and stay agile with hybrid cloud. We would be starting the session in a few minutes, waiting for more people to join in. The session would be delivered by my colleague Vijay Nehra, having around 15 years of experience in pre-sales as well as solution architecture, and accompanied by his colleague Mrityunjay Kumar, again having around 20 years of experience in pre-sales as well as solution architecture. I hope it would be a great session, and we look forward for a few questions from the audience as well after the session at around 12. So stay connected, stay joined. We'll start in a few minutes. Good morning, everyone. Hello and welcome you all to SISL Tech Integration webinar on Red Hat. The topic for the webinar is Scale Out, Speed Up, Stay Agile with Hybrid Cloud. I would now introduce my colleague Vijay Nehra, who having around 15 years of experience in pre-sales as well as solution architecture, to speak on the subject, accompanied by gentleman Mrityunjay, again having around 20 years of experience in pre-sales as well as solution architecture, followed by a round of Q&A after the session is delivered. So stay tuned. Over to you, Vijay.
Thank you, guys. So again, welcome and thanks for time today. Today we wanted to take upon this chance to speak to you about a very peculiar, catchy topic where we say that let us create something, let us at least discuss something where we should be able to, in terms of organization architecture, where we should be able to create a scaled out, speed up and agile hybrid cloud. I know that come right to the topic, right to the core of the topic. Let me try to build up to this topic first, if you would allow me a bit of a chance. While I stay on this slide, all of us, all our organization, irrespective of our size, irrespective of our vertical, irrespective of the way we function, are at one or the other stage of digital transformation. We, at our respective organizations, would want to achieve, would want to transform our IT, would want to transform the way we deliver services, the way we deliver business services, leveraging IT. But in order to do that, we had to probably with the magic wand, magically transform the way we see, the way we look at IT and the way we talk about it and deliver. And what kind of expectation settings are there? Now with this ever-growing market where 6 months time is considered a decade old and a decade is probably generation old. So in such a fast-paced scenario, how can we help, how can you as your respective sole IT owners help your business stay afloat, stay current and stay relevant? Because staying current at times means staying relevant. So with this, let me take upon this chance to talk about something, to talk about the core topic where we want to present to you that how and what can we do to build up a hybrid cloud where which is scalable to any platform, scalable to any application hosting platform, scalable to provide us with an infrastructure, with an ability to deliver an IT service efficiently. Then, of course, given the recent times that we've seen, given that the erstwhile IT was just an enabler, IT was just an enabler in the manner that if you want to achieve something, this can be, if you want to communicate with each other, there was a paper trail which could have been leveraged, there were official letters that could have been leveraged, but now there is IT. So you could simply send an email. This was just an alternative. There were business processes, but now this has become the main operative. Now we would hardly see business who can function without a very high speed, reliable, resilient IT services in place. We in our daily function, and these pandemic scenarios have been the testing times just to reflect how mature our respective businesses are in terms to cope up with the physical world. This pandemic has brought the world to a grinding halt, but industries and businesses still kept on moving. And I'm not just talking about typical Infosys or HCL or IBMs of the world. I'm talking about government organizations. I'm talking about the government of India for that matter. I'm talking about oil and gas. I'm talking about logistics. I'm talking about NHAI. I'm talking about all such scale. I'm talking about all those commodities which as of date makes. In fact, I'm talking about all the services which provides us with the basic commodity services. I'm talking about electricity. I'm talking about the electrical grid. We could have we would have been made to set out our home and work out of that. But electricity is required, broadband connectivity is required, network is required. All of this was a testament to showcase how much these IT services has enabled. Now, if we take a bit of a deeper look into it, let us see how does it actually happen. It can only happen if there is an increase in spike, if there is an increase in demand, then our respective IT service providing infrastructure should be able to speed up. If we don't have everything in-house, as we used to have 10 years back, then it should be able to scale out seamlessly. Stay agile. Agility has become the most important and the most paramount factor, because if I have a DevOps team and I have an operations team and I have a production environment, then today I just can't fall back on the waterfall model where somebody would develop and then there is a tester who would dedicatedly test the entire setup, and then there in a downtime, in a particular downtime, somebody would roll out the entire product and would upgrade the entire production scenario. Not going to happen. Now we have applications transforming themselves, and which is what we're going to talk about. So with this context, if I come on to the next slide, I want to present. Are you guys able to see my screen? I'm sorry for this. Okay. Now, with respect to our digital transformation journey, all these organizations, all of us, irrespective of our domain, are at one place or the other in this journey where we see. Either some of us are already trying to optimize the IT that we already have. Some of us may have multiple applications and data at multiple places and then various processes. We're trying to integrate and create a seamless environment to operate. We may already have matured to a stage where we would want to add and migrate to multiple clouds. That could be, and we will talk about clouds in a bit. So migrating to cloud is something that where we want to focus on our core business, and everything else, if you don't want to create an expertise and if you don't want to create a dedicated team. For example, if I have a business idea, and if I want to do business, for example, let us talk about education. Now, the core value is education, educating customers. So there are educators, they come on a common platform, which could be a school building of it, which could be a school building, any complex university. And then there are students, they interact with each other. Interaction medium can be classroom, and in terms of these times, interaction medium can be virtual classrooms. But nobody would want to have, no university would want to have a separate department for civil people, civil department, so that they can just maintain and do the housekeeping of building. At times, organization would have wanted, but in the latest scenarios, everybody is moving very fast. So they would simply want to focus on their core value, and everything else they would probably want to leverage as a service. This is what is happening with organization as and when they're maturing. As and when they figured out that, okay, if I am a service provider, say for example, if I am a HRMS service provider, then I would want to focus on HRMS only. I would not want to have a dedicated server storage networking guy, a dedicated IT team just to be able to deliver that HRMS service. I can leverage somebody who's expert in doing that. On the other hand, vis-a-vis, we have players like AWS, Azure, and various other players who have an expertise in delivering these services. So let us consume those services and add our business proposition onto it and deliver a value to our respective consumers. So this is where organizations are maturing. Besides this, some organizations are already at a level where they will want to build a more modern application. There is something which is already working, and but they would want to modernize. They want to give a better look and feel to the customer. It should be quick. It should have a better user interactive UI and UX. It should be able to get better feedback. If there is an idea, if there is a feature which should be incorporated, it should be incorporated immediately. Then, as our IT would mature, the last stage would be to automate and manage. Automation and management automation of IT. all these fancy concepts, fancy key phrases that we've come to hear, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, all of this would ultimately reduce the man efforts that we have to put in. So all of us are present in some of these stages. We would want to achieve all, yes, but at least for the time being, some of these stages is where we are, is where we have a focus. To go there, now let us come to the operational aspects. How do we achieve that? Because this is the things concept we understand. Okay, we want to achieve the sky, but how? And when we are in a business, when we're in a team, we would want to also, the only way to achieve how is to take perspective of every single person. In this particular slide, I'm presenting an example where perspective of a CIO would not be that what kind of infrastructure is running, or should I just change the infrastructure? That's not his perspective. His objective is that we aren't delivering application and services fast enough that can keep pace with the business requirement, with the consumer market. So the perspective is different for a person who's leading that. Whereas a person who is responsible to create such service, his perspective can be slightly different. He may want to create something, he may want to manage something, deliver something which is secure, which is compliant, which can have a global outreach. So he'll be more focused on the medium. Whereas if we talk about operations people, those who have to maintain, if I have created something which is excellent, great, but that should also work and keep on working. This is where we bring in the reliability people, we bring in the quality people, we bring in the operations guy. Their asks, their perspective is slightly different, where they would want to improve upon scalability, elasticity, agility, so that they can have flexibility to make changes, to make improvements, break fix also. Whereas, the core team which is driving the change is probably the DevOps team. Their perspective is entirely different. They would want to operate on a platform where they don't have to worry about the difference between test and dev environment and the production environment. They may not even have to worry about, okay, if I'm doing a test and develop, if I'm creating a CI/CD pipeline, I'm creating an application which is based out of CI/CD pipeline methodology, and I'm creating on certain X platform, then I don't have time enough just to troubleshoot at how will this development behave on a different architecture, probably an enterprise grade, a proprietary infrastructure hosted out of data center, behavior would have been different. Hosted out of my own data center, then, and if the same kind of setup is hosted out of probably AWS, it's going to be different. So nobody would want to spend energy in just doing that troubleshooting. If somebody has developed and if he has a platform which can give you a seamless orchestration layer to move your services and workload across platforms, so that would be the core focus of a DevOps team. Keeping in mind all these perspectives, so these are the limited. These are the perspective. In the last slide, we talked about what is the kind of problem that we're talking. This is the perspective. Now, in a couple of slides like this, we'll be talking about at what scale, which type of a scale question are we addressing. IDC has predicted that from 2018 to 23, there'll be 500 million new logical apps that will be created, probably equal to the number of apps that has been created over the last 40 years combined. And this kind of growth is going to happen in the next 5 years only. Two of them are already passed. So we're almost midway. Now with this, we've come to realize that, okay, if this is the key and if this is how we want to adopt digital transformation, then the key lies in the cloud native application projects. Now this is a key term which has greatly transformed the way we used to buy IT, we used to create IT. Now this is where the turning point in the presentation comes. That means all of a sudden I've coined a term, cloud native projects. That means if I used to create an on-premises data center, and if my perception was that a cloud data center is something which is just not hosted out of my own place, but hosted out of a different place, but it would behave differently, then the perception is slightly different from the one who are developing applications. The way apps are modernized, the way new apps are delivered. This particular term, which says cloud native projects or cloud native applications, this has a different kind of meaning to DevOps engineer. And keep in mind that we presented you the perspective of different layers who are responsible to deliver such services, but we're talking from talking from the perspective of a person who has to start this, who has to drive this. 50% of the respondent in this CNCF survey has responded that if it is a cloud native development, if it is a cloud native project, then the development times are faster. 45% of the respondents said that the scalability is better. 42% have said that the portability is extremely better. That means if I did a development, I delivered a service leveraging an application which was hosted out of my premises or on AWS, or probably tomorrow I want to move out of Azure, AWS, and GCP gives me a better service. Day after, I may even want to come back from GCP and probably want to deliver it from somebody like a ESDS or Control-S or TCL or Nextra. So then portability becomes very critical. If I have to give you a raw analogy, then all of us have now accustomed to a single phone number. So much so that people are not recognized. Even in the government system, even in the national databases, people are recognized by their phone numbers. Your Aadhaar, your identity, entire identity is linked to your Aadhaar, not even to your photo, but your phone number. So everywhere you go to a bank, you go to pay your bills, you go to Aadhaar, your phone number has become identity. Now, at the back of it, couple of years back, phone number portability was introduced. Now, if all of us can go back and revisit those times where a person, if he leaves one provider and takes services from other provider, he had to change his phone number, go on other times. Now you would find people who may have the same phone number for years and years and years. People used to do that earlier also, but then their limitation was they had to stick to the same provider. Hence, this portability feature, which was provided as a service by telecom operators, but see the kind of transformation this has done in terms of digitalizing the entire nation's database and identity of each and every individual. So this is how dramatic impact digital transformation can bring onto IT. With this, let us address generally what are the hindrances. Okay, concept sounds beautiful. This is something which is going to be very big. Then what are the limitations? 41% people have said that cultural change with development team, cultural change with respect to the overall perspective is a bit of a hindrance, which can cause a delay. Lack of training. Today, now we understand that IT, delivering IT, but it's not that simple. You may still need n number of expertise. Somebody who knows application would never understand what kind of infrastructure is leveraged at the back end to deliver that application. Somebody who would spend years and years to groom his skills in infrastructure and creating infrastructure and refining that may not even have any slight idea about CI/CD. And they have, all of them have to cater to a probably CEO's whims and fancies. Okay, let us create this service. Some jargon which may have come from a marketing guy, Flipkart and the Amazons of the world. Marketing guy said that, okay, let us do a flash sale. This was a concept, rolled out quickly. Now, we all remember this happened with Flipkart. Their initial couple of flash sales, their site crashed. Now, instead of giving a different kind of experience, it ended up being a bad tasting mouth. People realize that, okay, this is something which doesn't work. Now, whereas the moment it was fixed, flash sale, people start waiting for this. As we used to hear probably in the West that, okay, people wait for those Black Fridays and those Christmas and the year-end sales, and this is where they stock up, and even they defer their requirement in a manner so that they would do the purchasing there. That same thing started happening. Now, these flash sales have more or less become festive in their symbolism. We would hear astonishing number happening. Same goes with our digital services. Let us talk from a different perspective. Say, for example, government would want to roll out a scheme. Universities would want to roll out a scheme. Admissions have gone digital. If you would see that during those initial crucial time, you'd see that the kind of IT infrastructure that a university would require just to cater to admission requirements is huge. So lack of training and complexity becomes a hindrance to adapt new technology. Tomorrow, I may have an office, I may want to go paperless. Now, it may sound simple, okay, let us not have records, but to go complete paperless, the solution it's not just a simple DMS software. it's a lot of infrastructure, a lot of processes. A business process automation is essentially required to go paperless, which is not even considered at the time factoring IT. So it is complex. Hence, complexity and lack of training makes the idea, adaptation of idea and then transformation of that idea into a proper work, into proper task is difficult. These are the delays. Hence, we would need a platform which can ease our life, which can address to these problems that we're talking. This is where people have started thinking about enterprise open source. Now, again, I'm coining terms. My slides may not be that related as I would have wanted them to. In the interest of time, I'm just very quickly jumping onto the key phrases and key takeaways that I would want to share with you by the medium of this particular presentation. I would have loved to talk about how a proprietary product, proprietary from Microsoft product, proprietary from IBM, proprietary from VMware is better, is more adaptable, is quickly consumable than an open source. But the fact of the matter is, in all these years, with all the digital transformation, with all the with all the ideas that were disruptive. For example, there was a taxi service. It was there. It has been there since years. Uber was a disruption. Uber changed it. Airbnb was a disruption to hotel industry. Oyo, we can more relate to Oyo. Oyo disrupted our very own hotel industry. I'm based out of Delhi. If I venture out in NCR, I would see more Oyos coming up by day. They don't even own a single property. It is disruptive change. So all of these changes I'm noting at the back end have leveraged enterprise open source. And minded guys, because we're all from the IT industry where we are owner, we are responsible. Hence, my emphasis is still on enterprise. Of course, a developer would pure play love open source only, so that he would have a playground, he would have tools at his disposal. He won't have to worry about how a production environment would affect. Organizations are looking at open source to optimize their cost for proprietary solutions. They don't want vendor locking. There are multiple benefits where enterprise open source is leading, has far more leading advantages and edge over a proprietary solution. Hence, but every organization, every CIO would want that, okay, I just don't want to rely on one person's skills. If I have a person who's excellent and who can work on community, who can develop something on community version, tomorrow, if the person is not there in the system, then what happens? That person was more skillful and hence I will have better service. No, a person who owns it from the top level would still want some enterprise grade support for the projects that has been developed, and hence enterprise source. How are people leveraging to address all these problems that we earlier talked about? How are they leveraging enterprise open source for their digital transformation journey, wherever they are in the journey? It could be this survey says that 53% of people have leveraged it for IT modernization, 43 application development, application integration, 42 digital transformation. So we can see that about at least half of this organization have already started adapting enterprise open source for in one phase or the other of their digital transformation journey. This is where I'm bringing you to the core platform, to the core topic, that how we as a partner and how Red Hat as an OEM can help. We can help you provide a platform. We can help you provide enough IT-related tools to optimize your processes and enable your people so that we can achieve the desired results. This is again a marketing survey, and this survey was done by IDC, and it's about a year and a half old. Still, I want to present this data because nowadays the number has changed, but the data still stands relevant. When we were talking about those 5 transformational steps that we want to discuss, that we want to take upon, this is what IDC found when they did a survey, that the first 2, where 32% of the people say that they've started adopting cloud to digital transformation their organization. 31% people said that they've gone on to collaboration platforms and more collaborative tools to digital transformation their organization. So this way we see that the first 2 are talking about an improvement and change in the infrastructure platform that they leverage to deliver their IT services. But if you see the next 2, it talks about the processes. Whenever we talk of business result and culture, the only way to improve upon culture and business results is if you create something which is tangible, if you make a process which is which can be measured. All of us must have heard of, it started off with Motorola when they introduced Six Sigma, and then these business transformation processes started coming to picture. IBM has been a leader in this since donkey years now, where they have made business processes and now IT tools to do business process management also. So this way we're talking about processes, but if you see the majority, last 5 factors are still where they're talking about the beyond infrastructure level. The transformation in it could be a better UX, better skills, faster services, which has to have a transformation change, agile processes, DevOps. So this is where we're talking about a platform not only to develop, but a platform to deliver also safely. So this data still stands relevant today. Numbers would have dramatically changed, and hence we realized that the enterprise open source is far more of paramount importance than it was probably a year and a half back when the survey was conducted. This is another survey where there's another slide where I would want to leverage that 89 of the leaders would still say that their strategy, the development has been paced up. 68% who were already using enterprise open source have agreed that their consumption has increased over the years. But as I said that, okay, there were 3 major factors. One is the platform that you would leverage to deliver your services. Second is how do you manage your processes, culture, and then how do you provide, besides core platform of hosting platforms, how do you modernize your architecture? So let us address the first 2. The obvious choice, the obvious answer, which a lot of organizations have found, was that let us move on to cloud. Let us leverage the benefits that the cloud can offer. Now cloud can be public cloud, private cloud, then your own cloud on a public environment, then third-party cloud. You may be consuming certain services as a service from various organizations. We're talking about the core services. We're talking about databases. We're talking about core ERP system, CRM system. Organizations have started consuming that as a service altogether. So, but as soon as the talks regarding cloud opened up, nowadays we come to realize that the options have become overwhelming. It has become extremely difficult. In fact, it has become one of the most critical decisions. Okay, how do I strategize? How do I create my cloud strategy? Should I adopt it very quickly? Should I go 100%? Should I go 50%? Should I have multiple clouds? Which cloud platform should I leverage? Should I go on public cloud? Should I go on tier 1 vendors? Should I go on private cloud providers like TCS of the world and the Nextras of the world? Or should I create a private cloud in on-premises data center? We can leverage hybrid cloud platforms like VMware or Microsoft or Red Hat to do that. So the options are overwhelming, and so much so that a lot of discussions for the top honkers of the IT domain of every big organization spent time to create this strategy. Still, all of us would realize that a single orchestration layer is missing. So with these many options to go for, with these many options to create a hybrid cloud strategy, I'm sorry, I missed this point earlier. So when we're talking that the options of improving upon your infrastructure was that, okay, the quick answer was cloud. Then as soon as the organization matured, the rate of adoption of clouds increased dramatically. Now, we also have a couple of slides where we've seen that the repatriation rate had also become, say an organization started off on cloud 100%. Then the rate of repatriation is also high. So the answer there is no silver bullet. Public cloud is an answer to have a better IT? No, it is not. Private cloud, is this the ultimate answer to have better IT? No, it is not. So the answer lies somewhere in between. The reason everyone is required to create a strategy is that probably the answer lies in the term which is coined as hybrid cloud, that some of your services you should deliver from there, some of your services you should deliver on premises. You may have more than one cloud vendor to deliver your services so that you have reliability, resiliency, no vendor interlocking, insurance for that matter, that if somebody goes down, I would still have my IT services running and my business should not be impacted. So this way, the term that was coined as hybrid cloud. So all of these organizations are now matured to a level that they realized that hybrid cloud is where the answer lies. This is how they strategize. Again, term may be same, but the meaning and definition would be completely different from one organization to other, depending on their work, depending on the kind of service that they want to deliver. For example, I'll give you a very different sort of example. Communication, still reliant on emails. Formal communication, everybody is still reliant on email. But how many organizations do we see around today, those who have actually on-prem exchanges? Most of have started consuming that as a service, because that would have required a dedicated infrastructure and dedicated IT team just to manage my emails instead of managing my business. So that is something where Microsoft bring in a radical transformation, and a lot of people have started adopting. Now Google Cloud, we have Gmail Soup, and a lot many examples. So, but still the orchestration layer is missing. So this is where Red Hat steps into. There is a plethora of offerings that Red Hat provides, but most major offering where Red Hat gives you a seamless orchestration layer, a unifying layer between all these public, private, hybrid, or multi-cloud environments to achieve these 4 desirable results, which is enterprise stability, cloud agility, developer productivity, application portability. So this is the platform for which we want to take another 25 odd minutes of yours to spend a bit of a time. But before we immediately start talking about products, another concept which is key concept and which we need to mind is that, okay, if you are modernizing application, I said that the 5 of the parameters out of the total 10 were around modernizing application, transforming application, the way IT services delivered. Then latest trend or the latest requirement or the development in field of IT is that let us transform our applications to containers instead of servers. Let us bring them onto containers instead of waterfall methodology. If you want to make our application agile, then let us start leveraging microservices. So the way we try to touch upon how dramatically infrastructure has been modernized, and the answer is somewhere in the hybrid cloud methodology that organization has started adopting. Similarly, application transformation is equally important, if not more, and containers and hybrid cloud. And if you leverage containers on hybrid cloud, then that's where the ultimate answer lies for everyone, for all of us. What does it give you? Now, running containers on hybrid or multi-cloud, this becomes the ultimate answer, so that we can get consistency, we can get security. We should be able to address infrastructure management and security, all 3 questions consistently. We should have ability to create a layer where we can achieve probably reduction in the lock-in with the vendors, where, as I said, basis microservices, we should not only depend if some upgrade has to come, if some vulnerability is found, that we should not have to bring down a proper production downtime just to do an upgrade or a patch upgrade. It should be different services which should be able to patch. The terminology we generally refer is in-service service upgrade. So agility should be bringing elasticity and scalability. Today, if I have an idea, if I do a broadcast on my application, if I create an application, do a bit of a broadcast, I can't even predict what kind of a traffic can I get, what kind of users hit can I get, what kind of a service I may have to deliver tomorrow, and that is tomorrow. So I should have scalability, that if my demand increases, my infrastructure and my delivery capability should increase seamlessly with it, so that the service won't go down. Speed of delivery, time to market. So a lot of people would say this, that time is money. We have been hearing this since ages now. Time to market becomes the most critical thing. Business stay relevant if they stay updated. Global outreach, all of this is achieved leveraging probably container platform on a hybrid and a multi-cloud. With this, I'll present my deck to my colleague, Mr. Mrityunjay, who would want to take upon this opportunity to discuss to you with this particular Red Hat offering, which is OpenShift.
Yeah, good morning to all. Thanks, Vijay, for handing over to you. And you rightly said the OpenShift is the market now, and the open source is the playing important role in IT industry now. So everyone is looking for every organization is looking for a smarter platform. So the smarter platform can be delivered by a Kubernetes platform, and that can give you the flexibility and automated kind of installation, seamless Kubernetes deployment. It can deliver, and it also gives you the auto scaling capability as well. Uh, even 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 uh, it can give you the flexibility or feasibility to uh, updates as per the requirement in a single click. Even OpenShift can work on any kind of infrastructure that might be on physical, that might be on virtual, that might be on private or public. So this is the industry requirement. So every industry is looking for a smart platform. So that is why Red Hat come into the picture and uh, provides us a good feature to leverage that. Okay. At the same time, every industry is looking for a trusted platform as well. So OpenShift again is a good choice, which gives you the trusted platform. Uh, Lots of things needs to be addressed here, because why it is a trusted platform. So hundreds of defects and platform fixes has been already done. 200 plus validated integrations has been completed. This is a certified container ecosystem as well. Okay. And Red Hat is basically a leading Kubernetes contributor since day one. So since long time, Red Hat is involved or developed Kubernetes kind of technology, which provides us the enterprise kind of features. Okay. Now everyone is looking for a consistent platform as well. So what do you mean by consistent platform? Like, so everyone is looking for a automation for operation, multi-tenancy kind of infrastructure. Everyone is looking for. The infrastructure should be secure enough to protect from any kind of malfunctioning or any kind of hacking or like that, or data protection for that. It should be able to control the network traffic. Very quick updates required in case any new updates or new developments happens. Uh, Everyone is looking for and monitoring and chargeback. So these and the pluggable kind of infrastructure. So automated deployment. It should provide an capability to just plug and play kind of infrastructure, or the deployment capability needs for any kind of any industry, right? Again, every industry is looking for a application delivery, the quick application delivery kind of models they are looking for. So again, open source is the right choice for this. Open source is giving you capability to deliver all application in a new way. So the kind of the OpenShift, basically the secure platform and then the auto provisioning kind of features it is providing. Because of that, the every DevOps or developers can leverage this kind of technology and make their life easy and focus on their development works only. Okay. So this is the topic which I was telling you, that the development DevOps productivity is very important. So self-service provisioning, consistent environment, automated build and deploy, which saves developers time, so they can focus on their actual job, or they can perform better. They can help organization to develop more and more application, or smarter application, you can say, to deliver the business or increase the business revenue. Okay. Now, why Red Hat OpenShift should be a choice? Because it's a trusted enterprise Kubernetes. It's giving you a feel like an cloud like an experience. It's helping developers to innovate more and more, so that they can help every organization to grow their business. Okay. Now come to that was with respect to the OpenShift only. So now I would like to tell you that why Red Hat is the best choice for that. As you've seen at the screen, that the four C's, because the code is very important, and Red Hat is basically leading developer contributor with Google. They make and develop easy, reliable, and more secure environment. They have multiple customers, thousands plus customers are having they have already there, which have already using OpenShift online and dedicated services. AWS again using container-based services. The OpenShift services they are already using, and this is the comprehensive portfolio container products they have. The services and the includes the developer tools they are having, security application services they are having. They can provide you the storage and management capability. Now why OpenShift why OpenShift for hybrid cloud and multi-cloud environment? Because this is the IDC report which says that the financial services kind of industry is saying that 60 to 70% increases in their productivity level. So this kind of features OpenShift can provide you. So this is the report from the IDC, in which the financial services is saying that they can improve their productivity or increase their productivity by 60 to 70%. Pharmaceutical industries also is saying that they can manage multi-cloud environment and OpenShift on AWS, which provides an easy agility, which provides them the agility. Okay. Now the hospitality industry is saying that they have grown their revenue by 15%. So these are the IDC reports which says the OpenShift is the right architecture which industry can choose to manage a hybrid cloud kind of environment. This is some hybrid cloud infrastructure benefits which you can get an ROI of 600 to 61% over 5 years. It can pay you back within 5 months, 54% of lower 5-year cost of operations, more than 200% new applications versus development kind of features or the capability you can develop for your developers. Your developers can perform 200% now. This is what it is telling. 24% higher application developer productivity. You can say you can per year you can grow by 32.9 millions of US dollar revenue. You can reduce 80% unplanned downtime, and you can make your team 49% more efficient. Okay. These are the basically some report or the organizations which has already used Red Hat OpenShift architecture, and they said that they increased their application development by 10x. Okay, the Cathay Pacific is the organization, from 220 to 200 changes per day. And Red Hat OpenShift, the Hilton is saying that Red Hat OpenShift on AWS improved time to market by spending lots of speeding. They make their infrastructure so fast that some of the applications, some of the development applications takes months times, which comes down to a days. And the Skyfall is an organization which is again using an OpenShift on AWS, and they launched a new cloud platform in 10 days only. So and development time for newer services in 50%. So they have provisioned their application or developed their application by leveraging the time and help them to increase by 50% of the annual. So thank you very much. Yeah, you can ask questions if you have.
Hi, Nitin. This is Ashit. I wanted to just quickly ask, can you give us some live examples of some of the implementations? I mean, you may or may not name the customers, but some real life examples which you've come across.
Yeah. So what I was saying that recently there are a lot of transformations happening across several customers within India, but as we have signed an NDA with them, so we are not able to disclose their names. Still, they are not public referenceable customers. But I can tell you in terms of BFSI segment, in terms of lot of government digital India projects, which are current government started. There are a lot of new projects which are coming up, the requirement which are coming on those RFPs and those requirements are falling into the lines of containers and Kubernetes technology, right? And OpenShift, as a enterprise Kubernetes platform, which gives the flexibility to the customers, to use any underlying infrastructure, be it your private cloud, be it is across different public clouds. So that choice and that flexibility, benefits the customers are adopting OpenShift, in their organizations. And there are few success stories. There are few production implementations already done in India, in I would say in top BFSI industry and in the government. But yes, we are still working to have their references so that we can speak the names of those organizations, right? But yes, there are a lot of projects going on recently, and also there are a lot of customers who have adopted in production, and the production environment is running with OpenShift, right? So Mrityunjay and Vijay, I think you nicely placed the entire OpenShift and the hybrid cloud framework. The only thing which I would like to add on top of it, right? So the challenge, if we see from the earlier setups, right? So if I see 2 decades or 3 decades kind of setup, right? We started from physical infrastructure. We used to deploy applications on a single physical server, and then in the 2000 to 2010 era, we moved to virtualization, right? Where we started putting more workloads and started consolidated on a single platform. And now I think that shift is happening towards containerization, and because this technology is helping a lot of challenges that we used to see earlier, right? And the biggest challenge, what we often see is more around DevOps, right? Where dev and ops team are separately working, and they are not aligned to the common business goal, right? And as Vijay highlighted very much into the slide, the next shift which we are seeing is IDC, as per the IDC report, that we will be building 500 million logical apps in the next 5 years, which we have developed the last 40 years, right? So what is that platform which can help developers quickly to build those applications, right? And how we can take those applications to the production to deliver that experience that we want to deliver to our customers, right? And nowadays, if you would see, we are not loyal customers the way we used to be, right? Just for an example, we all have transportation apps like Uber and Ola, right? So are we loyal to Uber or are we loyal to Ola? Maybe not. Whosoever is delivering me a better experience, who is offering me better services, who is offering me a lower price, I will book that cab, right? So if Uber and Ola has to maintain their customers and they have to maintain their business revenue, they have to deliver that differentiated experience so that I will be booking the cab through them, right? Which means they have to constantly change. They have to continuously improve by adapting the feedback from the coming from the customer, which means they have to continuously develop and deliver, right? So that's why these kind of organizations looking for that platform which can help in continuously developing and continuously delivering those applications in production, and should be utilizing any infrastructure down the line, be it public cloud or private cloud. So that's the main benefit which OpenShift is trying to bring, as this technology is available to get deployed on bare metal. If you want to deploy OpenShift on bare metal, that is possible. If you want to deploy on virtualization infrastructure, be it VMware, be it Red Hat virtualization, you can deploy it. If you want to deploy OpenShift on AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, and other tier 2 clouds we talked about, all of these cloud vendors are coming with this OpenShift offering. So if you started your development using OpenShift as a platform in your data center, tomorrow if you want to move to AWS or GCP or Azure, your development team and operations team will get the similar experience, the consistent experience, irrespective of the underlying infrastructure. So that's the value which an organization can adopt. Yeah, thanks. I think if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put in the chat window. We would be happy to answer that.
Thank you, Nitin, for the perspective. Gentlemen, anything that we can help you with whatever we've discussed so far? Anything that you may want to discuss here with respect to related topic which may not even have discussed also, please feel free to share your queries.
And the participants who have joined, we would like to hear your feedback, your suggestions, right? That what all technologies we should cover going forward, what all webinars we can conduct. You can get in touch with SISL, and the things which you want to hear. We can work along with SISL and we can deliver those sessions to you which can make an impact in your organization.
Nitin, Ashit again here. I'm sorry, I'm asking all the questions, but if nobody else has any question, but I still have one more. What are the typical challenges which people will see when they're implementing this kind of a platform? What should they be aware of and be cautious of?
I think one of the biggest challenge that we are seeing, across organization is the culture and the mindset that they need to adopt, right? Because from the last few years, the way we are working, we are pretty much accustomed to the way we work, right? Thinking of the development team is only responsible for doing development, and they're pretty much not concerned about the infrastructure side, and then infra ops team or infra team is responsible for maintaining the infrastructure across different platforms, right? So that's the biggest barrier, and then we need to go and educate to the customers that if you really want to deliver that business value, then entire team, be it development, operations, or enterprise architect, they all have to work as a single team, right? So we have to break that wall, and to break that wall, I think what organizations should adopt is to go around and read some reference architectures, do some trainings, break that wall, and adopt the DevOps culture in your organization. I think if they can go and adopt that culture, then OpenShift adoption or the container adoption or Kubernetes adoption will be easier, right? So they have to do a bit of investment in learning those technologies and trainings, and doing certifications around that. And considering Red Hat, right? We have a complete training and services arm where if any one of you are interested, you can get in touch with SISL, and we can also help you in doing official training and structured training and certification, or otherwise we will keep on doing these sessions, right? You can also go through it.
Okay, thanks. So basically what you're saying is a solid pre-planning and then sensitizing the entire organization, or at least the teams involved, is the key to the success.
Right. If they have to stay competitive now, because new organizations are coming up with different business models, right? New business models. They are doing integration with, with their all the stakeholders, and they're delivering their experiences, right? So if we have to stay competitive, it means we have to change, right? And that change is not only from a platform or technology perspective. We have to change the culture and the processes within the organization to adopt that technology and deliver that experience to the customers. So it's an overall change that we need to bring.
Yeah, thank you.
Then there is a question from Mr. Jishan that do we have a hands-on demo to use the Red Hat infra?
Yes, so we we have few virtual labs available. If you go to labs.openshift.com, there are few virtual labs which are based on Katacoda technology. You can go and see a basic demo environment. You will execute yourself. The instructions are very well there. These are very quick, small labs to give you overall view of that how Red Hat OpenShift works. So, for example, if you just want to see the OpenShift console, right? How does it its GUI looks like, or how would be the administrator privileges? So there is a lab which says which talks about the console of OpenShift. If you want to see the CI/CD kind of stuff, then there is a lab which you can provision. Working on web browser, simple. You don't have to provision any infrastructure for that. You just go to lab.openshift.com, and there are a lot of small labs for different technologies available on OpenShift, which you can execute on your own, and you can learn and have a quick demo of these technologies.
Thank you, Nitin. Now that we still have a couple of minutes, can I leverage this time to ask one particular question? We've talked about containerization, application, digital transformation, but how is OpenShift as a platform different, better then adopting simply thinking on containers and Dockers and Kubernetes platform?
I think that's a good question. So see, containers and Kubernetes, right? These are the technologies which are bringing that differentiation, right? So I hope that was very much clear that containerization is a technology which is giving that portability feature, right? Which through which you can port your applications from one platform to another, which is a need of the hour today, right? Kubernetes as a technology is an orchestration engine, which means it can help you in scheduling and running containers across multiple hosts. Okay, these two are definitely a game changers. I would say in today's environment. But when you think of production platform, when you actually want to run your production applications, right, you also need some other ecosystem around. For example, you also want to make sure you should have the complete monitoring system built in through which you're monitoring your infrastructure, right? You also need a logging ecosystem that, what logs are getting produced by the applications and the platform. So you also need to stitch in logging infrastructure, right? Then as we are now accustomed to use software-defined networking solutions using cloud, software-defined storage solution using cloud. So all of these two solutions also has to be stitched when you are implementing a production platform, right? Similarly, when you think of containers, you also need a repository where you would be, when you would be developing your applications, you would save in container images. So you need a platform where you can save your images so that it can be reused, right? So all these components are different technologies. So one way is that you can adopt open source Kubernetes, which is there, right? But when you start thinking of a platform, you have to integrate all these technologies together to make it as a real production platform, right? And as Vijay already highlighted when he was doing that conversation, right? One way is, there are two ways, right? Either you can adopt OpenShift platform and focus on your business value, develop new modern applications, cloud native applications, AI based applications. That is your core business which you want to deliver to your customers. Or you take Kubernetes open source and then you integrate all these projects, put that effort on your own, and then maintaining the upgradations of those platforms, that would be a cumbersome, right? So that job has been done by Red Hat, and we are giving you the complete OpenShift platform, which is consumable, and it has the tools and technologies for developers to develop the application. It has tools and technologies for the operations team to run the applications, and that is coming from a single platform. So that's the value which organization would get. I hope that answered that question, right?
It does indeed. In fact, this answer of yours is the entire gist of conducting or having this presentation, this webinar, and getting the attention of people so that we can talk about that. It's better to have OpenShift platform, which has a full-fledged platform offering, because
Right.
containerization is just one aspect of it. But as the term which we tried to use earlier, which is enterprise open source, so the enterprise factors is pretty significant.
Right. And I think if I just need to relate with an example, if the audience, the participants, if they are using Linux, right? So if you see the Linux operating system, it is also an operating system platform, right? Otherwise, Linux, the way Linux has been created, right? Linux operating system is a collection of multiple open source projects which are integrated together to provide you the platform, right? Now, for example, kernel, the brain of operating system, kernel, is a separate project in the open source community, and all the user space packages that we run, for example, Apache web servers and the proxy server and the DNS server, they all are different open source projects running in the community, right? Now you are saying that either you have to do that job and create your own Linux operating system. You take all those open source projects, integrate it well, and then create your own operating system, right? That is one way. But is this the way the organizations are adopting? No. Organizations want to adapt the platform, which is, let's say, RHEL, or which is our enterprise Linux platform. And on top of that, they want to run their workloads. That's what organization cares about. And similarly, if you would see, OpenShift is a containerization platform. You don't want to go and integrate these individual projects on your own. And then if you're doing that, you are probably not be able to capture the faster time to market, right? You invest your time in doing that, and that's a secret sauce of Red Hat, that we bring these open source projects, we integrate them, and we make it consumable for the enterprise to adopt and start focusing in your business value.
Thank you, Nitin. That's very informative and in fact very helpful.
Thank you, Nitin, Vijay, and Mrityunjay. Thank you, audience. You have been a very patient audience, in fact. We would be sending out the deck for this presentation to you all individually and along with a few collaterals and white papers on the subject. If there are any questions, we'll just wait for 5 minutes and then we'll close this session. Thank you, Red Hat team, for being on this session.